remote synchronous delivery, a new sustainable delivery, or a stopgap measure during COVID. And we'll try for this on this presentation. We want to share our experience at your university, how when after almost like 8 or 7 terms of offering the Zoom session, or what we call remote synchronous delivery, or RSD, and what are the lessons that we have learned, and whether this method of teaching is a sustainable that we want to go on, or is just like, you know, temporarily we used it during the pandemic and things will go back to campus as normal when this is done. So I will start like Dr. Angela. We will presenting the few slides.
Okay, awesome. Dr. Maha, is there a way to make, oh, great, perfect. You got rid of the other ribbon of pictures of individuals. Yes. Awesome. Thank you for joining us, everybody, today. As Dr. Maha introduced me, I'm Antohi-Kominek. I'm the Dean of Academics at Yorkville University. One of the areas of interest for me is teaching and learning. So that's why we contributed to work on this paper, and definitely to share our experiences that we have had as we've had to pivot during the pandemic. So we all know that predominantly delivery methods in higher education right now are either synchronous, the traditional brick and mortar, or asynchronous, which is online, that happens at individuals' own pace of learning. And we offer both of those at our university. However, we all know COVID happened March of last year, when we had to rapidly pivot to and figure out how we're going to deliver instruction that was previously online. So that's what led us to our remote synchronous delivery, as we have dubbed it, RSD. And from there, we want to share our learnings, and also it's led us to future questions. So Maha, if you can please advance to the next slide of where this takes us. So some of the research questions that came up is this a model, a new model to bridge between the face-to-face and online? Are we prepared for alternative teaching approaches? And how will we deliver? Is remote synchronous really something to stay? So what underpinned our research, what we wanted to explore and share with the group today, is how we went about this and its implications for the future. And will it exist in RSD, or will it exist the way it is in RSD, or will it help inform other methods such as the traditional face-to-face or the online? Will it help improve other methods of delivery? The methodology that we used to go about this was we conducted a literature review of what others have been doing during this time. Naturally, we've moved to also observations of as we delivered over 6 terms now of remote synchronous delivery, and previous research that Dr. Maha will expand on a little bit as well in future slides. So let's look at what the literature helped inform. From the literature, we come to know that there's a mixed bag out there. What students were rapidly forced to study remotely, and we come to know that not only from our own experience, but obviously the literature informs that there's decreased motivation for this adapted learning methodologies compared to the face-to-face, and that's what Ghazi and all wished to share in their literature. Then we also come across that to embrace this time, that this is a time to look for new opportunities, to think outside the boxes, break down the proverbial walls that sort of boxed us in with our delivery models. So to think of new and creative ways. So that's what Jesnik and Letterman informs. And then from Dr. Maha's own study with her team of Bachelor Interior Design group informs that the students felt that their learning was not the same. Students missed the engagement of coming to campus. One of the students' feedback from their research was that coming to campus really, even just coming to campus and getting ready, traveling, put them in the study mindset, that their brain was essentially getting primed and being turned on for learning to come to the campus. But in the remote synchronous delivery and the RSD, they found that that was different, that it wasn't the same. So the desire was for some students in that study that the campus experience was still preferable. So this led to questions. How do we prepare for such a shift? Hey, Dr. Maha, I still see our picture covering over the little questions there. If you can minimize that, perfect. That's great, thank you. Also, does the remote synchronous delivery provide students with the full university experience? And that's what was starting to come to the surface in the Salman and all research. And then, is RSD really another mode for learning, or is it just something in between? So what, for us at our university, what remote synchronous delivery means, and that's the next slide, Dr. Maha, it is that we essentially, because of our robust learning management system that we have and all our courses being so fully scripted out in our learning management system, we were able to pivot really rapidly to delivering the courses in their full entirety, essentially uplifting them from the campus onto the Zoom platform, such as we're meeting today. And we found this beneficial because the tools were there, the whiteboard was there to replicate essentially writing on the board in the classroom. We used breakout rooms to mimic working in small groups. So essentially for us, we find that RSD is a mix of the online and the on-campus. But is RSD sustainable? So after several terms, questions, of this great new launch, we're starting to come to the surface. So the pros quickly came to the surface, and everybody was excited that we were able to continue delivery of instruction to students without interrupting. We didn't miss a beat at all. We didn't miss any classes, actually. We didn't miss any weeks. But it took some time for the cons to reveal themselves, and the cons only really came through after reflection and interrogating and starting to write about this and really reflecting on, is this sustainable? We did find that, through RSD, there can be greater flexibility to students. It's a method that, could be rapidly used to pivot should you need to, in case of an emergency, switch from a traditional face-to-face classroom. We occasionally joked around that there will be no more snow days in the future, that if there is snow and we're all snowed in, we're just going to pivot that day and deliver our class through a remote synchronous engagement. And are there any elements from RSD that could be teased out and used to augment the future of synchronous delivery classes or asynchronous? So it may be that RSD helped us get better at or improve the traditional delivery models that we have, or is it something that is here to stay? I now want to turn it over to Dr. Maha, that she can share with us some of the obstacles and challenges and pros and cons here.
Thank you, Dr. Angela. Thank you. So to reflect what the theoretical thing that we have just introduced, At the Bachelor of Interior Design, we have conducted a survey, and this was conducted after 3 or 4 terms after offering this RSD for the student who used to take campus courses. And the results, like, that we have several results, but here I try to summarize some of the, let's say, the comments or the quotation from student we got about that survey. Some of the challenges that we have found, where we could categorize them within certain, let's say, elements or headings. So one of them is the campus environment. Like here I'm using some of the student quotations. Someone was saying access in-person meetings with the professionals for lunch and learn, the opportunity for site visit, utilizing the sample library. For them, they were missing these things because this human interaction or direct interaction within the lectures or guest lectures, the professors, even using, as we said, the sample room we had or the sample library on campus, they missed these things. Someone said, I don't get to interact with my fellow classmates out of the classes, which makes sense when, most of us, like when we go to university, the relation or the university life is an important part of the education and the relation. Also, someone finding replacement for internship was a little bit challenging. Even we tried to solve this through like more online or virtual opportunities, but still the feeling of working or learning from an industry or from experts in person was also missing. Someone was saying it was also harder to focus while my own home compared to on-campus learning. So these are some of the challenges that some students found in the under the campus or they missed in the campus environment. Another issue, other obstacle also we could identify was based on technology. They had certain type of, let's say, type of technology that they didn't, some of them, they didn't support the Zoom meeting compared to what he had before. Also, some of them, was hard for them to understand what the portal, what they expected, especially for online, for international students. They were the first time they enrolled in, let's say, a Canadian university, and their plan was to come to Canada and get this experience. And now they had to start their study from back home. So for them, it was a little bit difficult to get used to this new forum. Some of them, they had a problem with access to software because let's say, as an interior design program, for instance, they need certain software for their courses, and they were available free on campus for our students. Even we tried to solve some of this problem by offering certain, let's say, licensing for students. Still, it was not as it used to be when they were on campus. And some of them also, maybe their computers, they are out of let's say, of space to save all their work, especially if they have very big files. Another obstacle also we noticed that it was the personal obstacles, where students, the problem with homeschooling and having children, family at home affected their focus and their concentration. Also, when you're at home, even if you are working, and all of us, we noticed that we still have, especially for female, let's say, students, some of the work they have to do at home, like cooking, cleaning, actually it could be overlapping when doing their schoolwork. And also, in addition, with the pandemic, of course, a lot of families, they might have some type of issues with family getting sick, or they have some financial issues, pandemic. So also that affected their performance on the RSD. So these are some of the things we found. And then we try to summarize what are the lessons that we learned, pros and cons from this RSD. So some of the pros we found, like RSD delivery actually motivated faculty for improvement and modification of their online delivery methods. Some professors, they prefer to teach only on campus, face-to-face, some they prefer on online. Now we have this faculty, they were more motivated to experience the online, and that's why we could see this remote delivery actually remove some of the barrier toward learning or teaching online for students as well as for faculty. Some courses, they usually use hand-on or face-to-face. Also, they could be re-examined, and we could find this might be done also via Zoom or remotely. Also, it enforced the need for more flexible learning methods. and expand on faculty demography, because now a lot of people, they live in different areas, maybe they could not access or come to campus. Maybe this will offer them more opportunities to pursue their study or to do their work. Also, RSD was an opportunity to solve some classroom capacity concerns. As we mentioned, now we can have maybe more students in the classroom compared when a physical classroom, and also it was a lot of convenient to foregoing time spent in traveling and commuting. On the other hand, if we look to the cons of this, definitely the learning barrier is have a mix of online and campus, or synchronous and asynchronous, might be a little challenging for students and faculty who prefer maybe one method of teaching or learning. Also, it impacts the student mental and physical health. Some of them, they get Zoom fatigue. And I think all of us, we know, maybe I can stay maybe 3 hours per class or 5 hours in the class working compared to spending 5 hours on Zoom. Definitely it was not very convenient, and affected some mental health or physical health of students as well as faculty. And there's some of them, they reach something you might call it environmental numbness, when the user actually rarely exercise any action to medicating to unfavorable situation, when students sitting in the chair and listening might have this type of numbness, we can call it. Also, unlike the on-campus, the RSD actually impacts students able to attend more than one class per day. A lot of our students, even faculty, they prefer maybe to come to limited days to campus, and maybe they can schedule 2 or 3 classes per day with no problem. Now with the Zoom setting, definitely this was not convenient. No one could actually attend the 3 classes per day via Zoom. Also, student attendance and academic integrity would be affected, because all of us, we know that a lot of integrity and issues we noticed, most of us noticed that. And also the attendance, student can be in the class, turn off the camera and do whatever they like. So following up what's happening, or if student is following, is actually having full attention, it might be affected. Also, limited teaching hours for faculty for flexibility, because again, as we said, you might schedule 3 courses per day, now maybe only 1 or 2 courses maximum. And also some limited options of accommodation, because on different learning styles where students, they have different learning styles, not all of them are comfortable with the online or the asynchronous. So if we want to balance between the cons and pros of this situation, if we start with the pros, let's say it's flexible. It's a lot of students, they give them more time for work because they could schedule more freely. Some, they said, were more organized when they follow up the online. Some family spend more time with family with no commute. And one of them asked one of the comment that the extra time gained from not commuting added more time for personal commitments. But if we want to put this the cons, actually the anxiety and stress levels, it has been noticed, it were they raised, and also then influenced the productivity, and also added to environmental numbness. Also, less interaction and engagement in the class activity were noticed by faculty and by students. Some students, they thought campus was, or getting to the campus was, a threshold to learning. So they, as if they leave their personal life and then they get into the campus where they prepare themselves to the new experience or to education. And of course, academic integrity is another let's say issue that we noticed. And definitely this is one of the comments of students. Someone say, I miss the on-campus student community to meet up with peers, and I feel lonely most of the time. So this is some of the results we had, and now I give the speech to Dr. Angela to forward summarize some of the our observations.
Thank you, Dr. Maha. So what we saw from the previous slide, that the balance is tipping a little bit towards the cons, and definitely could lead one to conclude this RSD is just something for the interim measures, as we had to adapt in our COVID challenged world, but perhaps is not something sustainable for the future. Points to consider here in our summary is in fact that the RSD played quite well in adapting itself in the neoliberal paradigm that we find ourselves in university administration. So this affects different groups of individuals. So identified here are administrators, faculty, and students. So from an administrator perspective, definitely we would love RSD because it would increase our capacity. If you can go to the previous slide, Maha, please, thank you. Definitely our campus capacity is, or capacity to deliver is definitely increased, and there would be decreased reliance on the physical plant. So someone as myself would probably really embrace this as an administrator as a way to go. From a faculty perspective, we have trained faculty. Faculty were trained. However, when we first rolled out the COVID RSD initiative, however, if this is a sustainable method, we need to make sure we follow up with training and effectiveness of this model on the faculty. So far to date, how we've rolled it out, we have done very little of that follow-up. Also, from a faculty perspective, this can be seen as a convenience to deliver this type of education, and they may prefer it much more than traveling to campus because traveling is reduced. The ability to teach at multiple sections at multiple institutions, it becomes an opportunity.
Yes. Hi, Angela. Sorry, I think you might have missed my couple of warnings. Maybe.
Oh, I did. I did.
Yeah, sorry, maybe I was showing it on screen. Maybe you didn't have me as a thumbnail. Yeah, I should have actually spoken out. But yeah, you can take a minute to wrap up. That'll be nice.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I will wrap it up definitely. So, and then the students are affected in ways such as campus life being diminished. Learning that happens in spaces outside of the classroom and interacting with others in the university are diminished. One that was actually the last two of great concern to us are academic integrity, as well as access and safety for the students. Safety-wise, what I mean by that is that our students sometimes we find are actually engaging in work at the same time that they're in the classroom. So they could be performing or engaging in unsafe work practices and perhaps be hurt on the job and simultaneously while they're in the classroom. So we find ourselves, I'll just wrap it up very quickly, Imran, in about 30 seconds, we do find ourselves at a crossroads, right? Is RSD something that we're going to develop as a third way to offer schooling in higher education, or will we take some of the very best that we have learned in RSD and to shore up face-to-face delivery and make it more interesting and engaging to get students to come to campus, as well as shore up and make online delivery more interesting than flat, asynchronous, sort of faceless instruction. So it has, RSD has taught us some valuable lessons. We just need more research and data to know if this is something that we're going to keep and still meet program learning outcomes and deliver the same level of instruction as Dr. Maha alluded to, numbness and fatigue, and would the same level of instruction be needed? Like, do we need a 5-hour classroom that was on campus? Still, would that still be required in an RSD environment? So a lot more research is needed to answer those questions. And with that, I'll wrap up unless Maha's got 30 more seconds to say something else, if you'll allow that, Imran.
Thank you. And just one last thing, definitely challenging circumstances require the new measurements of implementation to sustain both the quality and integrity of the education process. So thank you for being good audience, and we look forward to your comments. Thank you very much.